Good morning, everybody. Welcome to ATF, or welcome back to ATF. How's everybody doing? All right. Thank you for being here at our annual Chiefs of Police Executive Forum on Crime Guns. I want to start by recognizing and thanking both all of you for being here and all of the people from Field Operations Directorate, from the Office of Intelligence Operations, and from the Directorate on PGA, Public and Governmental Affairs, who worked to make this forum happen. These things do not happen on their own. Special thanks to the AD of Field Operations, Matt Verisco, to the DAD for the Office of Intelligence Ops, Katie Eberhardt, who's somewhere here also, Deputy Assistant Director of Field Ops, Tim Jones, and Group Soup, Christian Annenson from Charlotte, who helped to make all of this happen. We have chiefs here today from Vermont to Vegas, from Florida to Fargo, and all across the nation. See how I did that with the letters? We know you are all incredibly busy people. You're running departments, and you have tens of thousands of people in your communities depending on you. We are really grateful that you have taken the time to be here, and we hope to make this something that is well worth your while. It is in our DNA at ATF to be the best partner we can be to our local, state, federal, and tribal law enforcement partners and agencies who are on the front lines, as you and your people are, fighting violent crime every single day. While I might be biased, just a tad, I do genuinely believe that there is no better federal partner than ATF. And this forum is what that's all about. It epitomizes our commitment to working shoulder to shoulder with you. We've asked you all here today so that we can learn from one another, we can support one another, and most importantly, we can listen to one another. Over the next 2 days, we're going to take a deep dive into one of ATF's greatest assets. Our greatest asset is our people, but right behind that is our crime gun intelligence. Now, CGI, crime gun intelligence, means, as you all know probably, nothing more than squeezing every last bit of evidence out of a crime gun, and then analyzing that data to turn it into actionable leads that can be shared with you to clear pending matters, clear homicide cases, and leads that show how these killers got their guns through trafficking networks. And most importantly for all of us, leads that bring justice for the victims and survivors of violent crime. ATF is the nation's leader in CGI. And we could not be more thrilled to have you here today to talk about how we can even better use this tool to protect the law-abiding folks all over this country who are the victims of these crimes. Throughout the forum, we're going to talk about pillars of CGI, and two that we're going to spend a lot of time on are NIBIN and E-Trace, the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, and E-Trace. I believe that Deputy Chief Keith Stitt of Rochester is here with us today. Just as an example, on a trip to Rochester last October, I joined our partners at RPD and the U.S. Attorney there to announce the results of their year-long effort called Project Exile on violent crime. During that year-long initiative, just to give you an example of how this is really operationalized, 246 crime guns seized, including 197 handguns, 45 rifles, 4 shotguns, 9 AR styles, and 5 machine gun conversion devices, just in that time. And central to those results was the NIBIN effort. NIBIN leads in Rochester exponentially increased over those years. Let me give you just a few stats that are really stark. 2018, so 5 years ago, there were 320 NIBIN leads in that area of responsibility, right? 2020, 365. So it's going up a little more than 10% in 2 years. 2022, 2 years further, from 365, it jumps to 1,780. And then last year, 2023, it went from 1,700 to 2,500 leads. That is a 700% increase in just 5 years. That's a lot of hard work and partnership, and it paid off. These are impactful cases that they're doing. It's not just grabbing the low-hanging fruit. From the start of the initiative through October 23, about 112 defendants were federally charged based upon the cases that RPD and our task force there built. 112 defendants, as my mom used to say when I was growing up, that's going to leave a mark. We are not done. Those numbers are going to increase year over year. And thanks to the addition of a new NIBIN machine in the city, we're going to be doing more and more. At today's forum, you're going to hear about firearms trafficking cases. That's central to our strategy to keep communities safe, preventing the diversion of firearms into the black market. We just published a new volume of the National Firearms Trafficking Commerce Assessment Report, where we looked at 10,000 federal firearms trafficking investigations that ATF agents all over the country did. And we found that 60% of trafficked firearms end up in the hands of convicted felons. And of course, that's not a shocker to anybody here. Why wouldn't they? Right? Somebody who knows that they cannot pass a background check and get a gun lawfully, they're going to go to the black market. And once in the illicit market, we know that trafficked firearms find their ways too often to the scenes of violent crimes, homicides, ag assaults, tragedies. That's why Congress passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act 2 years ago and expanded the definition of being engaged in the business of dealing firearms without a license. And in April, ATF and the department announced a final rule implementing that new provision of Congress's act to make sure that people who are supposed to be running background checks are running those background checks. The final rule is about ensuring compliance with that area of the law where we all know the data shows, and we can clearly see there's a group of people who are openly flouting the rules. And it's not just unfair to the dealers that follow the law, but it's dangerous for the public. Now, whether firearms are stolen or sold by somebody who's dealing without a license, whether they're straw purchased or sold by a dirty dealer who deals out the back door, unlike, by the way, the vast majority of FFLs who are following the rules, every time a firearm is unlawfully trafficked, it places the public at risk, and it also places law enforcement at risk. And you know that too well. Our next speaker knows that well, too. The Deputy Attorney General of the United States, the Honorable Lisa Monaco. She understands the value and importance of using crime gun intelligence to catch shooters and stop their illegal supply of firearms. That's why she supported our efforts to have law enforcement's back, to expand crime gun intelligence centers around the country. In fact, she joined myself and Zach Ammon from Chicago very recently to announce the opening of the new CJIC there. She also understands the dangers that all the people who work for us face every single day. Even as crime rates fall, which is wonderful, and I believe the deputy is even going to have visual aids for us, which makes the rest of us look horrible, but violence against law enforcement remains a persistent, brazen, and deadly problem. Last July, our partners in the city of Fargo experienced one of these unfathomable tragedies that we all face. Officer Wallen, who's 23 years old, was killed when a man armed with 1,800 rounds of ammunition, multiple firearms and explosives, ambushed officers who were responding to what they thought was a traffic crash, a routine traffic crash. 2 other officers and a civilian were also wounded before a 4th officer returned fire, killing the gunman. Chief Zablosky, on that horrible day, everybody at ATF and everybody in this room, and I remember I had just been there just a week or 2 before, I think, we were thinking of you and standing with you. We know that all of our folks are out there every single day and they're risking their lives, and we know how important it is for all of us to have their backs and for us to have your backs in those darkest days. And on behalf of all of ATF, and the SACs are here as well, I commit to you that we're going to be continuing to be there for you through easy times and through hard times. And I know that each and every one of you will be there for us as well on those horrible days. In this environment, the Department of Justice and this nation are truly fortunate to have a leader like Deputy Attorney General Monaco at the helm. She is truly one of the nation's fiercest advocates for the men and women who are out there every day risking it all to protect public safety. She's also one of the fiercest advocates for the mission of this agency and its people. And she is one of the fiercest advocates for the survivors and victims of crime. And I've seen that firsthand again and again and again here and all over the country. We are honored to have her with us this morning to begin our conference. Please join me in welcoming the 39th Deputy Attorney General of the United States, the Honorable Lisa O. Monaco.
Very much. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Steve, see, I got a much more energetic good morning than you did. It is really, really great to be here with all of you. Thank you, Director Dettelbach, for that generous introduction and for your leadership of this great, great agency and the men and women who work tirelessly every day to pursue its mission. It's an honor to join you all for the third annual ATF Chiefs of Police Executive Forum on Crime Guns. Together as Chiefs of Police, you are leading the charge to keep your community safe. And over the next 2 days, you're going to be focusing on crime gun intelligence and its critical role in protecting our communities, from preventing firearms trafficking to stopping the next mass shooting to detecting other emerging threats. And I can think of no better place for this forum than ATF, the one DOJ component dedicated just and singularly to fighting violent crime. Because together, that's exactly what we are trying to do. Now, I will start with the bottom line up front. The Department of Justice has no higher priority than keeping our communities safe. And we are all in on reversing the violent crime uptick that started during the pandemic in 2020. Now, each of you has been responding to that uptick in your own jurisdictions, and each of you faces unique challenges in doing so. And since 2021, the Justice Department has been executing on a comprehensive strategy to reduce violent crime, a strategy that is rooted in local communities and built on 4 pillars. First, going after the most significant drivers of violent crime, like crime guns and violent repeat offenders who use them. Fostering trust and earning legitimacy in the communities that we serve. Investing in community-based prevention and intervention programs. And measuring the results of our efforts by the impact, meaning through the actual decreases in violent crime and violence in our communities. Now, the heart of this strategy is to double down on what federal law enforcement does best, and that's, frankly, serve as a force multiplier with all of you, our state and local partners and our tribal law enforcement partners, bringing resources that are needed to go after the drivers of violent crime, surging personnel, investing in technology and innovative and data-driven strategies. Now, this strategy and our collaboration are paying real dividends in the form of crimes prevented and lives saved. This work is being spearheaded by all of you, from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh to Chicago and Kansas City to Phoenix and San Antonio. According to available data from 2023, which I have on the screen here, yes, the visual aids, murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault show considerable declines from 2022. And across 90 large cities, early numbers this year indicate these positive trends are continuing, with an 18% decrease in murders in the first quarter of 2024. 18%. And that's on top of the sizable reduction that we saw in 2023. Now, while we've made real progress, this work is far from over. Despite your tireless efforts and the positive trends around the country, gun violence is still tearing at our communities. Just last weekend, right here in Washington, D.C., we saw a tragic set of shootings that claimed 3 lives, including that of a 15-year-old. And the violence extends to law enforcement officers who face life-threatening situations every single day. In April, our country was once again reminded of the sacrifices of a life in law enforcement and the sacrifices that you make every single day when 4 members of law enforcement, including a deputy U.S. Marshal, were tragically killed pursuing a violent fugitive and while serving a warrant to do so in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is one instance, but it is part of a really unfortunate and disturbing larger trend. From 2021 to 2023, more officers were feloniously killed than in any other consecutive 3-year period in the past 20 years. And far and away, firearms are the most common weapon used in those officer deaths. This is unacceptable, and it needs to stop. So, to address the violence afflicting our children, our communities, and those who protect our communities, and to protect law enforcement, and to hold violent criminals accountable, we're doubling down on the essential ingredient that is at our fingertips, and that's crime gun intelligence. Crime gun intelligence centers, or CGICs, use cutting-edge technology to solve and prevent crimes. Technology that traces firearms from crime scenes, that links ballistics evidence and connects shootings, and that identifies the gun traffickers and straw purchasers, arming gang members, and the other violent criminals. CGICs combine law enforcement personnel from across federal, state, and local agencies, along with technology and data, to swiftly generate more leads to identify the most prolific trigger pullers and to take them off the streets so we can push case closure rates up and drive violent crime down. The critical importance of crime gun intelligence was made real a few months ago in Chicago, as Steve mentioned, just after he and I were there to announce an expanded crime gun intelligence center. Days after coming together with federal and state partners to launch its expanded crime gun intelligence center, the Chicago Police Department lost one of their own. Officer Luis Huesca was shot and killed on his way home from a shift. He just left his car and was attacked violently. Using ballistics and firearms evidence processed through the Crime Gun Intelligence Center, the ATF, the Chicago Police Department, and all of their CGIC partners were able to link a suspect to Officer Huesca's death and made an arrest just within weeks. Put simply, crime gun intelligence fuels the best of 21st century policing, data-driven, surgical, and targeted at the root drivers of violent crime. And when paired with community involvement and results-oriented investment in prevention, it represents the future of policing in America. Crime gun intelligence is making an impact, but it's only effective if state and local law enforcement can deploy it. We need to bring more crime gun intelligence to more law enforcement agencies in more jurisdictions more quickly than ever before, from the smallest towns to the biggest cities. And for the past 8 years, the Bureau of Justice Assistance has invested more than $40 million into CGICs across the country. And many of those recipients have seen gun violence decrease in their communities after those investments. In the coming weeks, agencies will be able to apply for the next round of grants to expand existing CGIC sites and to launch new ones. The return on this investment is calculated in lives saved, in families united, and in streets made safer. You'll have the chance to learn more about this grant-making process tomorrow afternoon, I think, in a session here with the Bureau of Justice Assistance. So to close out my remarks, I just want to finish by expressing my gratitude to all of you for your leadership and the time you took to be here. As Steve said, you all have very, very busy day jobs, and so to take your time out and time away from your teams to be here really is a commitment, and it's something we are very, very grateful for. Because you're on the front lines, keeping your community safe, leading dedicated teams. You and your teams, frankly, don't receive the credit you deserve for the work you're doing in your communities. Always being asked to do more, often being asked to do more with less. So let me take this moment to be very, very clear. The Department of Justice is grateful for your service and for the sacrifices you make every single day, and we are grateful for your partnership. We stand with you every day, and we are proud to do so. Thank you for everything you do to keep our country safe, to keep your community safe, and thank you for being here today. Thanks very much.